A look at the grain trade with our friend Todd Horwitz, who is live on the floor at the CME Group. He's here every Tuesday and every Wednesday, unless he's traveling, and he might be in the next week. But Todd, here we are, looking at the grain trade today. Some of the factors here that you see helping out our listeners and viewers.
You know, Mark, there's not really much going on. I think, unfortunately, we're being held hostage by the Federal Reserve once again as we have a Fed announcement coming today. It's really all about the currency now. You know, it's not really about the product. It's now about the money and the dollars and the relationship that they have. So right here, I think we've seen some very quiet action. But interestingly enough, as we've seen this very quiet action, the grain market, especially corn and beans, are building some very nice support levels underneath, which to me, I'm still extremely bullish. Those two for sure. I like wheat as well, but I think that we've built some nice levels. I think you can look at 365 now in corn as an entry. I think now instead of 860, I like 870 in the bean market. But again, we're being more held hostage by currency manipulation versus the actual what's really going on. And I think that's really the tragedy that our farmers and producers have to suffer, because they're working their butts off trying to get things done, and yet they're at mercy to what Janet Yellen decided to say here on the Fed meeting and what they're going to do with interest rates again.
Yeah, that's coming out about an hour. Not expecting it to say a whole lot today, but as you say, the market's already indicating, and they're kind of sitting still. You know, I wouldn't say nervous, but certainly whatever the Fed says, they kind of hang on every word, it seems.
Well, and it is a tragedy that does happen, because really they're doing a disservice to everybody, and they've taken away what we call the free markets and price discovery, because people by themselves are very good at figuring out what the fair price is and what a market is worth. But when you have outside sources trying to manipulate markets and basically obviously the currency, you end up with a mess, and that's really what we've got into, is a mess that's not creating jobs, profits, or product for anybody, but more heartache for everybody. And that's really what the real problem here is now.
Very good. And again, folks tuning in to hear your thoughts on the grain trade, but bottom line, you like where the grain trade is right now. As you've said many times, they've thrown a lot of negative news at this market. It just doesn't want to collapse, which tells you that the grain trade's in good shape.
Absolutely. I think that it's not going straight up,
right? But
it is a wonderful place to be in, and I think we always have to measure the risk. I think the risk is extremely small here versus the potential reward that we can get. So I am in, and I will continue to get in more as they come to levels I'm looking for.
Very good. Real quick, we're going to take a look one last time for those tuning in on Sirius XM. The corn trade is up 0.75% now for March at 370 even. Looking at the soybean trade higher, as Todd mentioned, up a nickel now in the March. 881.5 up to 885 at their high. And then our wheat trade on the day lower again after higher Monday and higher yesterday, taking some back here. Russian news is not as friendly. March Chicago down 7 3/4. Looking at the Kansas City March contract down 8.5 now, and within a couple of cents of their low of the day. And Minneapolis March contract started over $5, now 496.5, down 7 on the day. The high today was 504. We'll take a break. We'll come back and check the livestock trade one more time. Todd Horwitz helping us do that. We come back in 1 minute.